Just like a good full-bodied red wine, when the cork is popped, the compositions keep flowing. But please forgive the beginning of this video. I wasn't in the right zone when I started out. But coming up for you is a burst of rich autumn colour, dreamy atmospheric lighting, and of course stay around for a few hints and tips. Don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel, and stay around for a free book offer. Good morning guys, it's really great to be out again today. I say that, but actually first thing this morning when I woke up I just did not want to get out of bed. Didn't really want to get out. And even filming the B-roll this morning has not been without its issues, which is sort of like detracted from the fact that I really do want to be here. But I am here, and yeah, when I reflect on it, there's loads of fantastic opportunities. I haven't come far. I've come for a few minutes drive down the road, and I'm in a local woodland. And it's quite foggy and misty. The sun's already up, which isn't a problem in this sort of weather. Not a problem at all. And I know the area, so I know some of the pictures I want to get. So fog and mist are ideal for woodland photography. But there's an area that I want to explore on the other bank of this river. This is the East Dart, I think. I'll correct that later if it's wrong. It's either the east or the west. When I'm walking down the other side of the river in a minute, then I'm going to see if there's some pictures that I can take down in towards the forest with the river leading your eye down into it, and hopefully I'm going to get some remnants of autumn colour, because we are in the sort of like end of autumn now. I say end of autumn, it isn't really, it's just that we've had a lot of storm and a lot of rain and wind in the UK lately, and a lot of the trees have shed their colourful leaves. But I'm in a managed plantation, so there's a lot of evergreen trees around, and I'm hoping I can get some blasts of you know, native sort of trees against those, which should add to the feel. And if we get a bit of mist as well, then we're on to some winners. But we'll have to see. I walked through the woodland and along the riverbank, but found it hard to find a composition. This isn't unusual, it's something that happens to me quite a lot, but it's normally easily put right. I just stop, sit down for a bit, make a cup of coffee, have something to eat, and soak in the landscape. And then more often than not, I will start to see all the opportunities and make sense of what's around me. Well, it worked, having the coffee. I don't know if it was just waiting and the light changing for a few fractions of a second, but it did. As I was sat there, and when I actually got up to take these photographs, I was going to vlog earlier, but I just couldn't. I'm going to show you some pictures hopefully in a minute. Of course, I haven't seen them yet on the computer, so they might be dreadful, but I think they're going to be something really quite special. I'm really excited about them. I'm going to swing the camera around in a minute so you can see the composition and what I've been aiming the camera at. But basically, I've been shooting down the river towards the trees on the right hand side. I think it's the right hand side. And yeah, the light's coming up from the left. That's where the sun was rising, so it was illuminating across the river. But of course we got this mist, so the light was really diffused, but the background's really, really bright. So I've got a huge dynamic range to try and deal with, far beyond what the camera can actually handle. So I don't really know what I'm going to end up doing, but yeah, what I've got is phenomenal. Whether it's going to be colour, black and white, or whether I'm going to have both, I don't know. I've shot a couple of different compositions because I've varied the focal length. I've done a wide angle picture. I've done a one in about 125mm, 100mm, something like that. And I've also shot at f11 and f4. Yeah, I've put the polarizer on to control the reflections on the water, a 0.9 grad, so it's given me about 3 stops of ND on there as well, which has allowed me to slow the water speed right down. So hopefully we're going to have some dreamy pictures, some really dreamy diffused light, and some recession and pastel backgrounds. It could work in monochrome and it could work in colour. So we're just going to have to see how that works out. Let me show you now exactly what it is I was looking at. If I can just move this camera. Just excuse me for a bit. Okay, so this is the view from the back of the camera. I hope you can hear me because I'm shouting from the other side of the mic now. But basically we've got all this water running away from us and down into the distance. It looks a little bit overexposed, I guess, the landscape, but it's just the way that it's sort of coming out, unfortunately. I can't get it all in. It's quite a high dynamic range. And we're going to have these splodges of colour and recession as we go down through. The water flowing away, and all being well, that's what we'll be looking at. I took more than one picture, I thought going in close and diffusing the background would really bring all the atmosphere out. But on reflection, it's this photograph that connects me most to that special moment. I love the foreground, the warmth in the highlights, the cool shadows and recession in the mist. Turning the camera 180 degrees and a slight change of position reveals another great landscape. It does not have the same atmosphere, but uses diagonals to lead you towards the orange tree that captures you and draws you into the landscape. Okay, so you've just seen my next picture. I think it could be a bit of a cracker. This tree really stands out against the background. This is exactly the sort of thing that I've been looking for. Now I've had to walk past a couple already because the foreground's not been there, or they've been secluded in the, sorry, not secluded, but they've not been open enough space around them to get the effect that I want. I haven't even started composing this image yet. I just wanted to show you what it was I was looking at before I do the composition. Now I'm thinking those logs that we saw in the foreground, maybe they're going to be used as the leading line to lead us into the picture. I'm thinking possibly F8, F5, 6, F4, maybe focus on those logs and have those sharp, and the tree as well, and then the background going off gentle. Now I'm going to use the longest focal length that I can use to get that compressed perspective effect again, and also try and use that to diffuse the background a little bit more than what you'd get with a wide angle lens. So let's see how we get on. Okay, so you should be able to see the camera behind me. I found my composition. It took me a little bit of time to actually get it right, to be honest, for various reasons. One bit, it was a bit far to the left and I had some background in there. I've still got a little bit of bright background, a little bit of sky. There's some colour in some of the trees behind as well, which I find a little bit distracting, but I think I can just about get away with it with the way that I've composed it right now. Now I have taken a number of different pictures. I've taken some, once again, like I said, about F8, F11, and I've taken some at F4 as well. I've done some horizontal, so sort of landscape format pictures, and I've just set the camera up like it is here now at the moment to do some vertical pictures. Now I'm using a technique that I used, I think it was in my last video, to be honest, so I'll put that up on the screen so you can go and watch it because it explains it in detail. But basically I'm taking 3 or 4 vertical pictures and stitching those together. Now the reason for that in this case is I would like to shoot at a longer focal length, like I said earlier on. So by doing that I've been able to shoot at 125mm and stitch them together, and hopefully that's going to give me a little bit more compression. It takes some of the sky out as well because it forces that background to come forward, which allows me to cut some of the sky out, which I really don't want in it because it's distracting. So hopefully that's going to work really well. It's quite dark and dimpsy in here as well, but I've managed to keep shooting ISO 100. There is the slightest breath of wind, but it is very slight. So although I'm shooting at about 2 seconds, down to half a second, sorry, between half a second and 2 seconds, I don't think it's going to matter too much at all. So all being well, we've just scored a few more pictures, and I'll put those up on the screen for you. So simple. The composition came together slowly with small tweaks in position, elevation and focal length, synergistically joining to create the harmony between foreground, background and subject. Autumn has arrived, and I'm here. So I'm going to go for a bit of a stroll, and I'm going to try and find some more pictures, maybe some more similar to this, and see what we can come up with. If you've been watching from the beginning, then you may remember I mentioned a free ebook. I discussed For the Landscape in this video, and it's been released on Amazon. Now you can have your own free copy. Go to my website and subscribe. The link to the website will be in the description. Right, this has turned out to be quite a good composition, I think. I wasn't quite sure about it. It's not the normal type of landscape picture I would take, but I've been really captivated by these leaves which are down on the ground, leading your eye along this track and up towards the trees in the distance. Now, I wasn't quite sure what to do about the depth of field and how I sort of control and manage that. So I've taken a number of different pictures, and I'm not sure which one I'm going to show you yet. So the first one that I did, I've basically shot at f16, f11, focused a third into the picture, and took in a few standard pics, so everything should be reasonably front to back sharp. But I am really interested in getting a really strong crisp foreground because these leaves look fantastic. So I've also taken another picture where I've focused on the leaves in the foreground and done a bit of focus stacking. So I've done one like that where I've shot at about f8 and focus stacked right through the frame. And then I've done a second one where I focus stacked at f4 and stopped focusing on the bright tree on the left hand side. And the reason that I did that was because then it'll hopefully allow the background to go slightly out of focus. And maybe that'll add a little bit of depth and softness to the back of the composition, which will contrast nicely with the sharp foreground. So that's one I'm hoping is going to come out, but until you look at it on the computer screen, you really don't know what it is you're going to do. What I've also got on the front of the camera this time is the polarizing filter. In fact, I used it in the last picture, but I forgot to tell you guys about it. And the reason I've done that is to take the reflection off the surface of these leaves. It's really quite noticeable when you use the polarizing filter. So I'm just going to spin that around on the camera now so that you can see it. So if you can see here that we've got no polarization at all, then as I turn it around to full polarization, those colors really come to life and come out. And that's why you use a polarizer to kill reflections, especially in woodland photography. A feast of autumn colours. I used the focus stacked version of the picture to ensure the foreground was sharp. I wanted the viewer to join me walking down the leaf covered track, guided by the raised bank running diagonally to the burst of autumn colour in the trees. The strong colours balanced by the sprinkling of orange and yellow leaves on the right. Well, I think that's it for me really. I'm going to call it a day. I've done some great photography today. I've really enjoyed it, despite not wanting to come out first thing this morning, despite not being able to find compositions when I first started. It just goes to prove that if you persevere, and sometimes all it takes is to actually sit down, stop, have that cup of coffee, have a good look around your environment, take a few pictures and start from there. And that's what I did this morning, and it worked out brilliantly. I hope you're enjoying the video. Maybe you would like to carry on, so try these suggestions next. I want to share more knowledge, more skills, more passion and stories about photography with you. So think about subscribing. If you do, ring the bell. It will make your subscription count. If you have time, comment. I will see you on the next video, so get out there and enjoy your photography.